The playbook is keep the people distracted and divided. That's always been the playbook. And then while we're in the middle of these international conflicts that are baffling to everybody involved, and you're wondering how they have all this money to do that, but they don't have any money to address all the problems that we have.
The blink of an eye, they give $100 billion to Zelensky and...
Well, even worse, they accidentally sent Ukraine $6 billion. They sent an accidental $6 billion. So then we looked up, like, how much would it cost to rebuild every house that got destroyed in the fire? $5 billion. It is a land grab. It's a pretty transparent land grab.
Right.
It's happening in front of our eyes, and no one's doing anything about it. And we're watching this take place where these people... And first of all, just horrible mismanagement of water rights, horrible mismanagement of power lines. The fact that they have horrible winds, crazy winds there.
And that the water got turned off so the firefighters...
They wouldn't let them turn the water on.
It was
the water's a very valuable commodity there. The whole thing is insane.
And that the cops are turning people back into the fire. It's just these
the
are
whole thing is insane.
These are all just unfortunate. It's unfortunate things.
Well, how about that mayor who goes on TV like what?
As I came in today, I can't tell you how many down power lines and transformers and power poles were sticking right across PCH like this. As I came down, there were fires burning and there was no firefighters anywhere, and they can't get ahead of this thing. In fact, last night around 8 o'clock, they had to ground the helicopters and even the fixed wing. So one of the firefighters at a presser said, what's the point of driving around and dropping retardant when you can't hit your target? So those are some of the problems and the challenges that they're having.
My heart goes out, obviously, to the people with their homes, and I'm watching the small businesses around us go up in flames. This is people's livelihoods, so it's devastating. But what is most concerning to me is our first responders and our firefighters who are trying to battle this. There's no water in the Palisades. There's no water coming out of the fire hydrants. This is an absolute mismanagement by the city. It's not the firefighters' fault, but it's by the city. And I'm going to be very honest. We've got a mayor that's out of the country, and we've got a city that's burning, and there's no resources to put out fires. So if you look at your pictures, you don't see the firefighters there because there's nothing they can do. And it looks like we're in a third world country here. Mm-hmm. And we've got a lot of tough questions that we need to ask the mayor and the city council and our representatives and the county representatives. Why didn't you work to mitigate this? What was your brush mitigation program? I heard you earlier talking about it's been dry because there hasn't been rain. That's not the biggest problem here. The brush up in these hills that are controlled by the city and the county, I would bet you that if they haven't been handled, mitigated, pruned, removed for probably 30 or 40 years. This was a disaster waiting to happen. And what's predictable is preventable. And who's paying the price are all of these people in their homes and their businesses tonight. Now, we'll rebuild. But the majority of this community is going to have a tough time rebuilding their lives.
They're waving me down. Hi there. That's fine. You decided not to leave.
I know I'm not supposed to be here, but this is my parents' home.
I know the feeling.
And they just they got canceled from their fire insurance. So they're dealing with this. They're 90 years old. And through the state of California, because of this, they're 90 years old, that they've lived in this house for 75 years, and they've had the same insurance, and these insurance people decided to cancel their fire. And we're going through this, and it just happened, and they have no fire insurance. So thank you, California insurance companies, supporting residents who pay taxes and love California. And they wonder why people leave California.
First and foremost, you did get your parents out safely.
I live in Sierra Madre, and my parents are in Sierra Madre, but
And now you know that it is under evacuation as well north of Sierra Madre Boulevard.
Yeah, I snuck here. You know, there's a will, there's a way. Probably shouldn't do it, but you know what? Under the circumstances, send me to jail. That's fine.
It is unbelievable what's happening here to the neighbors. Your parents' house is still standing. You had a hose. You're doing what you can.
I mean, I have a hose.
Coming down, we've been out here since 5 o'clock, and all you see is just raining hellfire.
When did you get the notification for an evacuation?
We never did. Over here, never got the evacuation notice. Even when we got here, it was not there.
And have you seen any fire crews here? I see an engine company down there.
Yeah, we see them going up and down the street, but not helping us.
Right. Well, there simply aren't enough around. Listen, your name is?
James.
Last name is?
Day.
D-A-Y?
D-A-Y.
Good luck to you, James.
Thank you.
So there you have it. I mean, this is hand-to-hand combat, quite frankly. This isn't to put any kind of blame anywhere, because there are so many fires and intersections like this. There's another explosion. Goodness knows what that was.
And this really is a worst case scenario, with, as you mentioned, 50, 60, 70 mile an hour wind gusts, a wind driven fire. We've lost a significant amount of homes, and I would estimate we're going to need tomorrow morning daytime, but we're going to be in the 1,500 to 2,000 acres burned with 0% containment.
Yeah. Chief, have you ever in your life seen anything like this? I mean, the winds are coming out up to 99 miles per hour, and just pretty much everything in its path is going to burn because you can't stop it, and you're running out of water, and you don't have a lot of manpower. I mean, all hands on deck, but you need more.
We do. And we made a request for 50 strike teams from all over the state, which would give us another 250 fire engines. When I was driving to the command post, it really looked like an apocalypse. You couldn't see. There was spot fires everywhere. There was trees coming down literally as we were driving, and multiple houses on fire. Definitely the worst brush fire and worst incident that Pasadena has seen in its history.
Chief, can you explain the water pressure issue that we continue to hear about?
We do, and thankfully, Pasadena, tonight we have not had significant water pressure issues. The crews have been able to get water out of hydrants. The problem is that this is a wind-driven fire, and we're having spotting multiple miles ahead of a fire, and we could have another 500 firefighters here on this incident, and we still wouldn't be able to stop this fire. We really need the winds to die down. We need to get aircraft in the air and be able to start doing water drops, and then come behind it with fire crews.
So, Chief, you can't even start containment until that happens?
No, and our crews are doing, there was some really heroic activities between police and fire tonight with, multiple residents being saved, people being pulled out of burning buildings, and things that you hear, but it was happening in real time. But the fire is spreading so rapidly. By the time our crews pull hose lines and start trying to extinguish a fire, it's 3 houses down. Instead of just the house that they were trying to fight.
Yeah, and Chief, I know that you guys were telling people they should evacuate because we knew yesterday the winds were going to be really high. At that point, it was going to be 70 or 80 miles an hour, now almost 100. But I know when people have to evacuate out in that area, everybody has a go bag. And you got supplies, right. You got your prescriptions and stuff like that. But what's really important is you need a map, and you need 2 evacuation routes. And this is the reason why, because people think, okay, I'm gonna go inland. Well, this time you can't go that way, or you can't go north, or you can't go south. You don't know where to go.
Right. And to your point, Pasadena has a lot of one way in, one way out, just like Malibu. We're getting another really big wind gust here. And so we really preach having that go bag, being self-sufficient for 72 hours, have a primary and a secondary evacuation route, a meeting place for your family, because we've been preparing for this event for the past few days as a wind event, not necessarily as a fire event. And here we are with just devastating fires on top of the wind event. We've had multiple evacuations. We're just in in the process of expanding our mandatory evacuation zones because we're having a wind shift. And with those ember casting of up to 2 to 3 miles, it really expands the area of Pasadena where we need to evacuate residents.
All right, Chief. Stay safe. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
We'll
Chief.
talk to you again. Hopefully you get those 50 strike teams quickly.
Again, I don't know exactly what it is, but I did see water meters. What does it say here? It's the Pasadena Tech Center.
Oh, wow.
That's in danger right now.
Okay, and
The
Gina,
Pasadena Tech Center.
I know you had heard at least one home on fire. When you made your travels there, did you actually see other homes on fire?
No, we didn't see any homes on fire. What we did see was the large orange glow from the 210 freeway and that black smoke up there in the sky, and it just was so ominous. It was just, when you look at it, you're like, oh no, this cannot be good because it's spreading so fast. These winds are just unbelievable. We couldn't stand straight when we were in Upland, and then as you're driving, my recommendation is if you don't have to go anywhere, don't go anywhere, because driving is very dangerous right now. There's so much debris on the freeways that's just coming at you. It's just it's horrible driving conditions.
So we just broke into programming on Fox 11. So if you were just joining us, welcome to our coverage. Alex Michelson, Marla Tejas, Gina Silva is joining us right now from Altadena. All day we've been talking about this fire that we have been watching in Pacific Palisades. That's still burning out of control.
That is our team across the street at Fox 11. That is Alex Michelson there. Alex has been on the show a number of times. They have been on wall-to-wall coverage here in Los Angeles because of this fire. The pictures you were just seeing is a KTTV Fox 11 reporter who is in Altadena. That is near Pasadena, and that is the Eaton fire. And I just want to bring Jeff Paul in very quickly here, the national correspondent, Jeff, because now we're hearing this Eaton fire is growing quickly as well.
I mean, it sounds like reportedly it's up to 400 acres, and what gives me a little concern is that earlier today, the Palisades fire was 200 acres, and we were kind of closely watching it, and then it just exploded. So to see this fire, I think earlier in the evening it was somewhere around 40 acres, now it's 400 acres, and then the strongest winds are starting in the next hour or two and going to continue to 5 a.m. I'm really concerned about what this fire is going to do, being that it's already at 400 acres.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff's exactly right. Is that when I came into work, the fire in Pacific Palisades was at 200 acres, a little over 200 acres, some 260. Now, they only update every few hours. We have not gotten an update on the acreage burned in Pacific Palisades for the better part of 2.5 hours. And at last check, it was 2,900 plus acres, almost 3,000 acres. So if the timing is any kind of gauge, that fire from the time that I came into work until they gave the last update grew 150+%, because it was up to 1,200 acres. It grew from 1,200 to 2,900 acres in the better part of 2.5 hours. It's been 2.5 hours since we've last been briefed. There is a very good possibility that this fire has grown immensely in that amount of time. We're not going to get another update on the size of the fire, Jeff Paul, until sometime around 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's after all these massive winds come in. That is going to be a possibly stunning update.
And if anyone's ever been to the Pacific Palisades, and if you haven't, it is a very curvy area, like lots of twists and turns. Houses sort of built on top of each other. And so you think about a fire happening in this area, not only really dangerous for the people trying to get out, but think about the firefighters try to go in there, maybe drop some containment lines or something. And then on top of that, you've got all that fuel. It's dry conditions. You've got houses next to houses. So one house catches on fire. It's like flicking the ember of a cigarette. It goes on to the next one and catches on fire. And it's just this chain reaction. Those winds pick up and they just take those embers. And you can see Matt Finn right now. He's clearing his eyes out. That's because he's got debris and probably embers flying right into his eye, right onto his face. I've been in that exact position. It's not fun, and it's extremely dangerous.
And it's worth noting that Jeff Paul and myself and Matt Finn, we have gone through these fire training exercises covering fires for many years. I mean, you have to go through them once, a couple of times a year, just so that you are current, just so that you know when you go out to the scene, you know how to behave, you know what to wear, you know where to go, and you know who to listen to and who not to listen to. But as you look at the live pictures from our Fox affiliate KTTV, you get a better idea of the scope of this fire and how big it is, because it was in the Pacific Palisades at 200 plus acres. It then exploded to 1,200 acres. It then exploded to 3,000 acres. And now we're getting information that this thing has pushed into or close to, I don't want to scare anybody, into and close to the Santa Monica border, which is next to the Palisades, next to Brentwood. And it is pushing, as our previous guest told us, it is pushing into the Brentwood area where evacuations are now being, I'm not sure they're being mandated, but they're certainly being requested at this point in time. I want to bring in Armin Kurdian, who is a search and rescue expert, Armin, because when you look at situations like this, we were talking to the chief earlier, you know how to mount resources, you know how these things work, and sometimes when you don't have enough resources, it is going to be a struggle.
Trace, the chief made a very interesting discussion about the aviation side of it, and that they brought in some aviation, but now that it's night. And not only that, consider the fact that, you know, this fire, this intense heat, the air is rising from the ground very, very rapidly. Now you couple that with the winds, the eddies, the darkness, the hills, and it is exceptionally dangerous for aircraft to be flying in that area. So you could even have the resources, as he says, but you can't actually deploy them because you can't deploy them safely.
Fire can do wild things, man. It really can, but the real problem is how they handled everything. It's so poorly done. By the way, they've had wildfires there commonly.